Highly ranked four-star safety Bryce Anderson released his top 5 the other day, and we need to talk about why it's so interesting and why I like the schools he picked so much. But before we do, as always, y'all know the drill. I want to hear from y'all. And one of the things we've talked about on this channel is the importance of the University of Texas landing a guy just like Bryce Anderson. And with Texas finding themselves on the top 5 teams, let's go ahead and start there. Do you believe that Bryce Anderson is able to end up at the University of Texas? Give me a Y for yes or an N for no in the comments and let me know why or where you think he ends up. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification, that way you don't miss any of my uploads because I do constant college football content. Player reviews, film analysis, talk style videos like this, and I'm on my journey to 5,000 subscribers within my first year of having a YouTube channel, but I can't do that without y'all, and I would really love to have you along for this journey. If you enjoy the video, be sure to like and comment down below because that stuff goes a long ways in helping content creators like myself. So if you enjoy a content creator's video, not just myself, always be sure to do that because it really does mean a ton for us getting picked up by the YouTube algorithm. But with all that being said, let's talk about Bryce Anderson because he is, as y'all know, if you've seen my videos talking about him before, one of my favorite guys in this class. I always am a little bit biased towards freaky DB types that can mask a whole lot within a defense. They can play a few different positions within a defense, and Bryce Anderson is one of those guys. He is a guy that possesses a good size. It's 6 foot, 190 pounds, and he's got a frame that could add on weight, or he could be fine exactly where he is. I understand that some people, want some bigger safeties, but he plays plenty big, and he already has a good frame. I'm completely fine with his frame because at 6 foot, 190 pounds in high school, that's a solid individual. And especially when you can move the way he does and cover the way he does, not at all worried about his frame. I think he's going to be one of the most coveted prospects in the nation when it's all said and done because of his ability to be a jack of all trades in the defensive backfield scenario. This is a guy that can come in and play multiple different positions, whether you want him to play slot corner, safety. I mean, he's got the speed to do a lot of different things. I think he'll probably end up as a safety, but the sky is really the limit on a guy like this. Really an intriguing prospect. And the ranking shows it. Ranked the 61st best player in the nation, the 4th best safety in the nation, and the 11th best player in the state of Texas, which that right there is ridiculous. That you could be a top 70 guy in the nation and still not be a top 10 player in the state of Texas. That just goes to show how loaded the state of Texas is this next year, but we've been talking about that and the importance of Sark locking a good majority of that down, and that's the beautiful thing, right? That if he misses, he has a lot of other opportunity. But let's talk about the situation regarding Bryce Anderson in the top 5 schools, and I'm just going to lay them out for you. We started with Texas, so we have Texas, LSU, A&M, Michigan, and USC as the final 5 contenders for Bryce Anderson. And I'm going to start with LSU because he was once an LSU commit. And with all of the up in the airness that was at LSU last year, specifically on the defensive side of the ball, my goodness, he ended up decommitting, but LSU is very much still in play. He hears from them all the time, he said, and he even was talking about how they're recruiting him harder now that he is decommitted from them than when he was committed to them. Now, he wants to see what the defensive situation ends up looking like there, what the defensive coordinator does, and who it will be. And so the interesting thing there is even if LSU makes some great hires, he's probably going to want to see what those hires indicate on the field, right? Like what happens on the field. And even though I think that LSU is kind of a long shot in this, we have to remember who is the guy after him for LSU, and that's Corey Raymond. Y'all, if there was ever a DB recruiter in college football that you could never count out, no matter what the odds are, it's Corey Raymond. Corey Raymond has signed a list of 5 stars longer than some programs have 5 stars on their roster. I mean, just talking 5-star DBs. We're not talking all of his 5 stars. We're just talking 5-star DBs. He has Derek Stingley, Elias Ricks, Kevin Tolliver, Jacoby Stevens, Kristen Fulton, Sage Ryan, Jamal Adams. That's just the 5-star DBs. Then when you look at the guys he's recruited, he has guys like Grady Williams, a litany of NFL players at a ton of different positions. Corey Raymond is one of the most serious and feared recruiters on the trail, and he's after a defensive back. Even though I think LSU is a long shot, we must respect the recruiter that Corey Raymond is and what he is able to do on the recruiting trail, and because of that, you cannot just count LSU out. It's going to be a very, very interesting battle to see how this goes forward. A&M, likewise, while they are on him just as heavy, Jimbo has really taken up a personal kind of touch to this recruitment. He's been in constant contact when he can with Bryce Anderson, and he's overseeing this because he's a guy that he realizes the importance of what a Bryce Anderson brings to your defensive backfield and what he can do. So Jimbo is very hard on Bryce Anderson, and Bryce Anderson says he likes what the Texas A&M Aggies have presented to him as far as what he would be doing on the field, the schemes, everything like that. Another one we want to talk about is Texas, obviously. We've talked about the importance of Texas landing a Bryce Anderson, and I think that even is just doubled down when you look at a Denver Harris, right? A 5-star corner out of Texas who is between Alabama, Texas A&M, Texas, and LSU once again. You really need to land one of those guys to kind of kick off the Steve Sarkisian era with a bang, and it's going to be very difficult to out-recruit all the programs that you're up against right now, but this is the staff that can do it. And these are the guys that you want to be going up against because that means that kids are high on you, right? If you're up in these final consistently with the teams like LSU, with Alabama, it means that kids are excited on you, so you want to land and win on some of these battles. I'm looking at Bryce Anderson as a guy where I think Texas could very, very much well win his commitment, and I think that he is going to be a guy of utmost importance for that staff. I really like him at University of Texas. I think he'd be a great fit, and I really think that Texas is going to just go after him with everything they have, because I personally think the Denver Harris situation is going to come down to A&M, Alabama, or Texas. Bryce Anderson is a guy that Texas, I think, can really lock up and ensure that they are going to get a top-level DB in this class. Now, the other two schools have been recent additions in Michigan and USC, and we need to talk about both of them because they're both still interesting, and they both still have ties to Texas, so we can't count it out. If we look at Michigan, Michigan has Maurice Linguist after him, and that's incredibly important because he's from the state of Texas. He was just an Aggie, and he graduated college from the state of Texas. So not only did he born and raised Texas, he went to college in Texas, but then he coached at the Aggies. He's a guy who's recruited the state of Texas before, very familiar with the state of Texas, and so because of that and the brand Michigan has, they can't be counted out. USC finds themselves in a very similar situation as Michigan, where they have Craig Napier after him, a guy who was, once again, born and raised in the state of Texas, who graduated college in the state of Texas, and who just coached not long ago at the University of Texas. He is now at USC. And so this gives USC an advantage over a lot of the other nation, just like Michigan has an advantage over a lot of the other nation, because they have guys that are familiar with the territory. And look, USC is a class that is high and mighty as Texas's class is becoming as far as excitement is going. USC is right up there, finishing with the number one player in last year's cycle and then already nabbing a top 5 guy in Damani Jackson for this next cycle. You can see why another DB would look at that and be like, okay, well, that's a 5-star guy, one of the top guys in the nation. I want to go play with him, and it's LA. It's very hard to recruit against the lifestyle that is USC for college-aged kids because it's LA. You're at the beach, right? It's very hard to recruit against that, but I like Texas's chances with Bryce Anderson, and he is an incredibly, incredibly interesting piece for somebody's secondary coming up, and he's going to make a difference. But I want to hear from y'all. Where do you think Bryce Anderson is going? Thank you so much for watching the video. Be sure to like and comment and subscribe if you haven't already. That's it. See ya.